Hey there, history drifters. Welcome to another deep dive into the past, designed to lull you into a peaceful slumber or just keep you company in the quiet hours. Tonight, we're stepping into the dusty, chaotic streets of ancient Rome, a world of grandeur, grit, and some truly bizarre realities. If you're watching this to unwind, dim the lights, fluff your pillow, or maybe crack a window to let in a cool breeze, this is your time to relax, so settle in. If you enjoy these sleepy history tales, give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and drop a comment letting us know where you're drifting off from. Let's wander into the Eternal City and find out why you'd probably hate living there. Ready? Let's go. You wake up in Rome, sometime around 100 CE. The air is thick with the scent of sweat, smoke, and something vaguely like rotting fish. Your eyes sting as you blink into the dim light filtering through a cramped window. The noise hits you next, a relentless hum of shouting merchants, creaking carts, and the distant roar of a crowd. You're not in a marble palace or a sprawling villa. No, you're in a rickety tenement, one of millions packed into this sprawling city. Your bed is a straw-stuffed sack, itchy and crawling with things you'd rather not think about. Welcome to life in ancient Rome. It's not glamorous, and by the end of this day, you'll be dreaming of your modern mattress and indoor plumbing. The first thing you notice is the smell. Rome is a city of 1 million people, and sanitation isn't exactly a priority. Open sewers line the streets, and the Tiber River, the city's lifeline, doubles as a dumping ground for waste, both human and otherwise. You step outside, careful not to slip on something unmentionable, and the heat hits you like a wall. It's summer, and the sun bakes the cobblestones, sending up waves of stench. You're already sweating through your rough wool tunic, which scratches your skin with every move. You glance around, hoping for a breeze, but all you get is a face full of dust kicked up by a passing donkey cart. This is your new reality, and it's only morning. Let's talk about your breakfast or lack thereof. If you're one of the urban poor, which most Romans were, your meal is a hunk of coarse bread, maybe dipped in watered-down wine if you're lucky. No coffee, no cereal, no avocado toast. The bread is gritty, baked with cheap flour that might have bits of stone ground into it. You chew carefully, hoping not to crack a tooth. If you're slightly better off, you might score some olives or a smear of garum, Rome's favorite condiment, a pungent fish sauce that smells like it's been fermenting since the Republic's founding. You try it once, and your stomach churns. The locals love it, though, splashing it on everything like it's ketchup. You're already wondering how you'll survive lunch. Your tenement, or insula, is a fire trap waiting to happen. These multi-story buildings are thrown together with cheap wood and plaster, leaning precariously over narrow streets. You share your room with a family of 5, plus a few rats that scuttle across the floor at night. Privacy? Forget it. The walls are so thin you can hear your neighbors snoring, arguing, or worse. Fires break out constantly, and when they do, there's no fire department to save you, just a bucket brigade of panicked citizens. You glance at the ceiling, noticing a fresh crack, and wonder if you'll make it through the week without the whole place collapsing. Getting around Rome is a nightmare. The streets are a maze, packed with vendors hawking everything from cabbages to questionable meat skewers. You dodge a splash of wastewater dumped from a window above. Romans aren't big on warnings. Traffic is gridlocked, with oxen carts, litters carried by slaves, and pedestrians all vying for space. There's no sidewalk, so you're ankle-deep in mud, manure, or worse. You pass a public latrine, where men sit on stone benches, chatting casually as they do their business. No partitions, no toilet paper, just a communal sponge on a stick, rinsed in a bucket of murky water. You decide to hold it. Work, if you have it, is grueling. Maybe you're a laborer, hauling stone for one of the emperor's endless construction projects. Or perhaps you're a shopkeeper, haggling with customers over the price of lamp oil. If you're unlucky, you're a slave, which is a real possibility. About 1/3 of Rome's population is enslaved. Your day starts at dawn and ends when your master says so. Freedom isn't a guarantee, and rebellion means a one-way ticket to the cross. You're starting to see why the idea of living like a Roman loses its charm fast. Let's pause for a moment and imagine your first trip to the market. The Forum, Rome's bustling heart, is a sensory overload. Merchants shout over each other, offering figs, pottery, and live chickens. You pass a soothsayer muttering about omens, his hands stained with the blood of a sacrificed pigeon. Nearby, a barber shaves a customer's face with a rusty blade, no soap in sight. You wince, imagining the sting. The air hums with the clink of coins, the chatter of Latin, Greek, and a dozen other languages. You're jostled by a crowd, and someone's hand brushes your coin pouch. Pickpockets are everywhere, and you're learning fast to keep your wits about you. What about entertainment? If you're thinking gladiator fights, slow down. Those are for special occasions and tickets aren't cheap. Most days, you might catch a street performer juggling or a poet reciting verses to a bored crowd. If you're near the Circus Maximus, you could watch chariot races, but good luck getting a seat among the 250,000 screaming fans. Betting's the real draw, and you see men tossing coins, cursing their luck as their chosen team crashes. Violence is common, with riots breaking out over a bad call. You decide to stick to safer pastimes, like watching old men play dice in an alley. By noon, you're starving, but lunch isn't much better than breakfast. You grab a sausage from a street vendor, hoping it's pork and not something weirder. Romans aren't picky. Dog, dormouse, and flamingo tongue are all on the menu for those who can afford it. You wash it down with more watered wine, which tastes faintly of lead from the pipes that carry it. Lead poisoning is a slow killer, but nobody's figured that out yet. You're starting to miss your filtered water and takeout pizza. Let's talk hygiene or the lack of it. Bathhouses are a Roman staple, but they're not the spa day you're imagining. The water's shared by hundreds, and it's rarely changed. You wade in, dodging floating clumps of hair and wondering what's lurking beneath the surface. Soap's a luxury, so you scrub with olive oil and a scraper called a strigil, peeling off layers of grime and dead skin. It's oddly satisfying, but the guy next to you is coughing up a lung, and you're pretty sure you're leaving dirtier than you arrived. At least your teeth are safe, right? Nope. Toothbrushes don't exist, and the best you've got is a stick chewed into a frayed mess. Your breath smells like garum, and there's no mint gum in sight. As the day drags on, you're exhausted, but there's no Netflix to unwind with. Maybe you head to a tavern, where the wine's cheap and the company's rowdy. You listen to sailors spin tales of distant lands, half believing their stories of sea monsters. Someone starts a fight over a spilled cup, and you slip out before it gets ugly. Back in your tenement, you collapse onto your lumpy mattress, the city's noise still buzzing in your ears. Sleep doesn't come easy, not with the heat, the fleas, and the constant fear of fire or collapse. You close your eyes, dreaming of air conditioning and a world where sanitation isn't a dirty word. This is just a taste of daily life in ancient Rome, and we're only scratching the surface. From the food to the filth, the crowds to the chaos, it's a world that tests your endurance at every turn. If you're still awake, stick around. We're diving deeper into the lives of Rome's forgotten people, the scandals that shook the city, and a mystery that still baffles historians. For now, take a deep breath, let the worries of today slip away, and let's keep wandering through the past. If you're enjoying this, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. Could you survive a day in Rome? Let's find out what's next. You're back in ancient Rome, and the city's pulse hasn't slowed. The sun climbs higher, baking the streets, and you're still adjusting to the relentless noise and stench. Last time, we walked through a day in your life as one of Rome's urban poor, dodging wastewater and choking down gritty bread. Now, let's dig deeper into the world of the forgotten, the laborers, slaves, and small-time hustlers who kept the eternal city running. Their lives were the backbone of Rome, but they were rarely celebrated. You're one of them, and by the end of this, you'll see why their struggles made your modern problems feel like a vacation. If you're still drifting with us, hit that like button, leave a comment about what part of Roman life shocks you most, and let's keep wandering. Imagine you're a freedman, someone who was once enslaved but now scrapes by as a street vendor. Your name's Lucius, a common enough name that nobody bothers to remember it. You're up before dawn, hauling a rickety cart to the market. It's loaded with cabbages, leeks, and a few questionable fish you bought cheap from a dockside dealer. Your hands are calloused, your back aches, and you're already dreading the haggling that'll eat up your day. The market's a chaotic sprawl, with stalls crammed together under tattered awnings. You set up in a corner, shouting your wares over the din of a blacksmith's hammer and a woman selling live geese. Your voice is hoarse by noon, but you've only sold a handful of vegetables. Profit? Barely enough for tomorrow's bread. Your status as a freedman means you're technically free, but life's still a grind. You were enslaved until your master, a grumpy wine merchant, freed you in his will, more out of convenience than kindness. Freedom comes with a catch. You owe favors to his family, and they're not shy about collecting. You're expected to show up at their villa every morning, standing in their courtyard with other clients to offer your services. Today, it's delivering a message across town. Tomorrow, it might be hauling amphory of olive oil. In return, you get a few coins or a basket of leftovers, maybe some moldy figs. You're not a slave anymore, but you're not exactly living the dream. Let's talk about your home life. You share a single room in an insula with your wife, Claudia, and 2 kids who are always hungry. The room's barely big enough for your straw mattresses, a wobbly table, and a clay lamp that sputters with cheap oil. Cooking's done on a small brazier, filling the air with smoke that stings your eyes. Claudia weaves cloth to sell, her fingers moving deftly despite the dim light. The kids help when they're not running wild in the streets, dodging carts and pickpockets. You worry about them constantly. Disease is rampant, and half the kids in Rome don't make it past 5. You've seen too many tiny graves to feel safe. Money's always tight. Your income from the market barely covers rent, and the landlord's a vulture who'd evict you in a heartbeat. Taxes are another headache. The emperor's always funding new temples or wars, and the tax collectors don't care if you're barely scraping by. You pay in coin or goods, and if you can't, you're at the mercy of loan sharks. They're not the friendly type. Default on a loan and you might end up back in chains or worse. You've heard stories of debtors sold to the mines, never to return. Every night you count your coins, praying you'll make it through another month. What about downtime? You don't get much, but when you do, you head to the local Popina, a grimy tavern where the wine's sour but cheap. You sit on a wobbly stool, swapping stories with other vendors and laborers. Someone's always got a tale about a senator's scandal or a gladiator's latest fight. You laugh, but there's an edge to it. Life's too precarious for real ease. The tavern's no paradise either. Drunks start fights, and the owner's quick to toss troublemakers out. You sip your wine slowly, savoring the rare moment of calm, but you're back to work at dawn. Let's shift to your health because it's a miracle you're still standing. Rome's a breeding ground for disease. The air's thick with smoke and rot, and the water's dodgy at best. You drink from public fountains, but they're often tainted by lead pipes or runoff from the sewers. Malaria's a constant threat, especially in summer, when mosquitoes swarm the Tiber's banks. You've got a nagging cough that won't quit, and your teeth ache from years of chewing gritty bread. Doctors exist, but they're expensive and often clueless. One guy tried to sell you a cure made of boiled nettles and goat dung. You passed. Most Romans rely on prayers to Asclepius or charms from street vendors, but you're not holding your breath for a miracle. Crime's another fact of life. Rome streets are safe during the day, mostly, but at night, they're a different story. Gangs roam the alleys and muggings are common. You carry a small knife, more for show than anything, but you avoid dark corners. The city's got a night watch, but they're more interested in putting out fires than stopping thieves. You've lost a day's earnings to a pickpocket before, and the memory still stings. Home's no safer. Burglars climb insula walls like spiders, and you've taken to sleeping with your coin pouch under your mattress. Let's take a moment to imagine a rare good day. It's a festival, maybe Saturnalia, when the city flips upside down. For once, you're not working. The streets are alive with music, laughter, and the smell of roasting meat. You splurge on a proper meal. Pork stew, fresh bread, even a cup of decent wine. Your kids run around, chasing other children, their faces lit with joy. Claudia's smiling, a rare sight these days. For a few hours, you forget the grind, the fear, the endless hustle. But festivals don't last, and tomorrow you're back to reality. Your life as Lucius isn't unique. Millions lived like you, their names lost to history. The emperors, senators, and generals got the statues, but it was people like you who built Rome's roads, fed its people, and kept the city alive. You're tough, resourceful, and stubborn, but every day's a battle. You're starting to see why the idea of noble Roman life is a myth for most. The grandeur of the Colosseum, the marble temples, they're not for you. Your Rome is sweat, noise, and survival. If you're still awake, we're not done yet. Next, we'll step into the shoes of someone who stood out, a figure whose life shaped Rome's story, for better or worse. We'll also unravel a mystery that's puzzled historians for centuries, and trust me, it's weirder than you think. For now, take a deep breath, let the modern world fade, and let's keep drifting through the past. If you're enjoying this, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. What's the worst part of Lucius's life for you? Let's see what's next. You're still wandering the chaotic streets of ancient Rome, where the air hums with the clatter of carts and the shouts of merchants. We've lived a day as one of the urban poor and followed Lucius, a freedman scraping by in the city's underbelly. Now let's shift to a different world, one of power, betrayal, and ambition. You're stepping into the shadow of Agrippina the Younger, one of Rome's most cunning and controversial women. Her life was a high-stakes game of survival in the imperial court, and her story reveals a side of Rome that's as gripping as it is ruthless. If you're still drifting with us, cozy up, hit that like button, and drop a comment about what you do in Agrippina's shoes. Let's dive into her world. You're Agrippina, born in 15 CE, a daughter of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, Rome's ruling family. Your life begins in a world of marble palaces and whispered conspiracies. From childhood, you learn that power is everything, and trust is a luxury you can't afford. Your father, Germanicus, is a war hero, adored by the people, but he dies young, poisoned, some say, by enemies in the court. Your mother, Agrippina the Elder, is fierce but reckless, and her defiance of the Emperor Tiberius lands her in exile. You're barely a teenager when you're caught in the fallout, watching your family unravel. The lesson is clear. In Rome, loyalty is fleeting, and survival demands cunning. You're married off at 13 to a man named Gnaeus Domitius Ahenobarbus, a brute with a temper and a taste for cruelty. The marriage is political, a move to tie your bloodline to Rome's elite. You endure him, learning to mask your disgust with a smile. He gives you a son, Nero, born in 37 CE, and you see in him a chance to shape the future. When your husband dies, you're free briefly. Rome's court is a viper's nest, and you're a young widow with dangerous connections. The Emperor Caligula, your brother, is erratic, swinging between affection and paranoia. When he accuses you of plotting against him, you're exiled to a barren island. You spend your days staring at the sea, plotting your return, your ambition burning brighter than ever. Caligula's assassination in 41 CE is your lifeline. His successor, Claudius, your uncle, recalls you to Rome. You're back, but the court's no safer. You marry again, this time to a wealthy senator, Paesinus Crispus, who conveniently dies, leaving you his fortune. Rumors swirl that you helped him along, but you're too clever to leave evidence. Wealth gives you leverage and you set your sights higher. Claudius is emperor, but he's weak, easily swayed. You charm him, becoming his wife in 49 CE. It's a scandal, you're his niece, but you don't care. The throne is close and you can taste it. As empress, you're a force. You sit in on Senate meetings, a rarity for a woman, and issue commands as if you were born to rule. You secure your son Nero's future, convincing Claudius to adopt him as his heir, sidelining Claudius's own son, Britannicus. You're relentless, eliminating rivals with a mix of charm and poison. The court whispers about your ruthlessness, but you've learned to thrive on fear. You're not just a player in Rome's game, you're rewriting the rules. But power comes at a cost. Every ally is a potential traitor, and you sleep with a dagger under your pillow. Let's pause to imagine a day in your life at the height of your power. You wake in the imperial palace, the air heavy with the scent of roses and incense. Slaves dress you in silks dyed purple, a color reserved for royalty. Your hair is woven with gold threads, a crown in all but name. You meet with advisors, your voice calm but sharp, cutting through their flattery. A senator begs for a favor. You grant it, knowing he'll owe you. Later, you visit Nero, now a teenager, and drill into him the importance of loyalty. He's your creation, but you see flashes of something dark in his eyes. You push the thought aside. He's your path to immortality. Claudius's death in 54 CE is your masterpiece, or so you think. He collapses after a meal, and the official story is natural causes. The truth? Mushrooms, laced with poison, served by your hand. If the rumors are true, you're too careful to be caught, and Nero at 16 becomes emperor. You've won. You're the power behind the throne, issuing orders through your son. You commission statues of yourself, mint coins with your face, and bask in the adulation of a city that both loves and fears you. But victory is fleeting. Nero's no puppet, and he's growing restless under your control. The cracks appear fast. Nero, now in his 20s, starts to resent you. You're too dominant, too visible. He takes lovers like Poppaea Sabina, who whispers against you. You try to rein him in, but he's slipping away. In 59 CE, he crosses a line no one expects. He orders your death. You're at your villa in Baiae when the assassins come. They try to make it look like an accident, a rigged boat that collapses at sea. You swim to shore, battered but alive. Nero panics and sends soldiers to finish the job. You face them with defiance, reportedly bearing your womb and shouting, "Strike here," where Nero came from. They don't hesitate. You die at 43, your blood soaking the villa's floor. Your death is the end of an era. Nero spins the story, claiming you plotted against him, and the Senate plays along. Your statues are toppled, your name erased. But Rome never forgets you. Historians like Tacitus and Suetonius write of your ambition, your ruthlessness, your brilliance. You were a woman who clawed her way to the top in a man's world, only to be undone by the son you made. Your life was a testament to Rome's paradox, a city of limitless possibility, where even the most powerful could fall overnight. Let's reflect on what Agrippina's story tells us about Rome. Her world of palaces and poison was a far cry from Lucius's market stall, but both lived under the same brutal rules. Power, survival, and betrayal shaped every life, from the slums to the Senate. Agrippina's ambition was extraordinary, but her end was all too common. Rome devoured its own. You're starting to see why living here, whether as a nobody or a titan, was a gamble with impossible odds. If you're still with us, we're not done exploring. Next, we'll unravel a mystery that's haunted Rome for centuries. A strange event that left historians scratching their heads. For now, take a deep breath, let the weight of Agrippina's world slip away, and keep drifting through the past. If you're enjoying this, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. What's the wildest thing about Agrippina's life? Let's see what's next. You're still lost in the sprawling chaos of ancient Rome, where the air carries the tang of smoke and the distant cheers of a chariot race. We've walked the gritty streets as a commoner, followed Lucius the freedman's struggle, and traced Agrippina's ruthless climb to power. Now, let's step away from the city's heart and venture into one of Rome's strangest unsolved mysteries, the disappearance of the 9th Legion, the Legio IX Hispana. This is a tale of soldiers, frontiers, and a riddle that's baffled historians for centuries. If you're drifting with us, settle deeper into your pillow, hit that like button, and drop a comment about what you think happened to the 9th. Let's unravel this enigma together. You're a legionary in the 9th, stationed far from Rome's sun-baked streets. It's around 117 CE, and you're in Britannia, a damp, foggy land at the empire's edge. Your legion, some 5,000 men strong, is a proud unit with a storied past, having fought in Spain, Gaul, and even Caesar's campaigns. You wear a heavy wool cloak against the chill, your iron armor clanking as you march through muddy trails. The air smells of wet earth and pine, a stark contrast to Rome's urban stench. Your comrades grumble about the cold, the endless rain, and the locals, tribes like the Caledonians, who watch from the hills with hostile eyes. You're here to hold the frontier, but something feels off. The Ninth Legion's last clear record places it in Eboracum, modern-day York, around 108 CE. You're stationed at a stone fortress, its walls lined with watchtowers. Life here is harsh but routine. You wake at dawn for drills, your breath fogging in the frigid air. Breakfast is barley porridge, sometimes spiked with bacon if supplies are good. You spend your days patrolling, repairing walls, or training with your gladius, the short sword that saved your life more than once. At night, you huddle around a brazier, swapping stories of Rome's glory or cursing the endless mud. The locals trade with you, but their smiles are tight, and you've heard whispers of unrest in the north. Britannia's a tough posting. The tribes are fierce, and the land resists Rome's grip. You've fought skirmishes against painted warriors who melt into the forests, their screams echoing in the mist. The Ninth has held its own, but the cost is high, men lost to ambushes, disease, or desertion. You've seen friends fall, their bodies buried in shallow graves far from home. Still, you're a Roman, disciplined and loyal. The Legion's eagle standard, a golden symbol of your pride, gleams in the camp's center. Losing it would be worse than death, a shame no soldier could bear. Now let's set the stage for the mystery. Sometime after 108 CE, the Ninth Legion vanishes from history. No battle records, no memorials, no trace of 5,000 men. Roman record-keeping was meticulous, with legions tracked across the empire. Yet, the Ninth drops off the map. You're marching north, perhaps to quell a rebellion or build a new outpost. The trail narrows, hemmed by dense woods. You grip your shield, scanning the trees for movement. Your centurion barks orders, but his voice wavers. The men are tense, sensing danger. Then nothing. History goes silent. What happened? Let's explore the theories, starting with the most popular. You're ambushed by Caledonian tribes in the wilds of modern Scotland. The terrain is brutal, bogs, hills, and thick forests perfect for guerrilla attacks. You fight bravely, but the enemy knows the land. Wave after wave hits your lines, arrows raining from the mist. Your formation breaks and panic sets in. The eagle is lost, and the survivors, if any, are scattered or enslaved. The Romans, humiliated, erased the Ninth from records to bury the defeat. It's plausible, tribes like the Picts were formidable, and Rome hated admitting losses. But there's a catch. No mass graves or battle sites have been found, despite centuries of searching. Another theory pulls you across the empire. The Ninth isn't destroyed, it's redeployed. You're sent to the east, maybe to fight Parthians or quell a revolt in Judea. The Legion's records are lost in the chaos of war or bureaucracy. You march under a scorching sun, your armor blistering your skin. The fighting's fierce, and the Ninth is decimated over time, its remnants absorbed into other units. Rome, focused on new campaigns, forgets to note the transfer. This fits Rome's habit of shuffling legions, but it's odd that a unit so prominent would fade without mention. A few inscriptions hint at Ninth soldiers in the Netherlands or Germany later, but they're shaky evidence, possibly misdated or misread. Let's try a darker idea. You're betrayed from within. The Ninth, worn down by years in Britannia, mutinies. You're sick of the cold, the lousy pay, and officers who treat you like dirt. One night, you and your comrades seize the camp, kill the centurions, and desert. You flee into the wilds, living as outlaws or blending into local tribes. Rome, furious, wipes the legion from history to deter other rebels. Mutinies weren't unheard of, but 5,000 men vanishing without a trace? It's a stretch. You'd leave some mark, weapons, camps, stories. Yet the silence is deafening. A wilder theory whispers of the supernatural. You're marching through a haunted glen, the air thick with fog. Locals warn of spirits that steal men's souls. But you scoff, Romans don't fear barbarian myths. Then the mist swallows your legion. Men vanish without a scream, the eagle's standard gone. You're spirited away, lost to some Celtic curse. Historians roll their eyes, but the story persists in folklore, fueled by Britannia's eerie landscapes. You're a skeptic, but out here with the wind howling, you half believe the tales. Let's imagine one last possibility. You're caught in a natural disaster. A storm sweeps through, flooding rivers and turning trails to muck. Your legion, strung out on the march, is swept away by a torrent or buried in a landslide. You claw at the mud, your armor dragging you down, but the earth claims you. Rome, embarrassed or distracted, buries the loss. Archaeological evidence is sparse, nature reclaims its own, but small finds, like a lone Roman helmet in a riverbed, keep this idea alive. Still, a whole legion lost to weather? It's hard to swallow. The truth? Nobody knows. The ninth's fate is a blank page in Rome's story. You're left standing in that foggy forest, the weight of 5,000 lives pressing on you. Were they slaughtered, scattered, or simply forgotten? The mystery endures, a reminder of how even Rome's might could crumble. You're back in the city now, the legion's ghost lingering in your mind. Rome's grandeur hides countless stories like this, tales of loss and secrets buried in time. This mystery shows why Rome wasn't just marble and triumphs. It was a machine that chewed up lives, from slaves to soldiers. You're seeing the cost of empire, the fragility beneath the glory. If you're still awake, we've got more to explore. Another corner of Rome's world, maybe a scandal or a forgotten place. For now, breathe deep, let the ninth shadow fade, and keep drifting. If you're enjoying this, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. What's your theory on the Ninth Legion? Let's see what's next. You're back in the heart of ancient Rome, where the city's pulse thrums through crowded streets and shadowed alleys. We've lived as a commoner, followed a freedman's grind, traced Agrippina's ruthless ambition, and puzzled over the Ninth Legion's vanishing. Now, let's dive into a scandal that shook Rome to its core, the Bacchanalia affair of 186 BCE. This was no ordinary controversy. It was a moral panic that exposed Rome's fears, desires, and the clash between tradition and excess. If you're still drifting with us, sink deeper into your blankets, hit that like button, and drop a comment about what you do in the midst of this uproar. Let's step into a Rome unraveling at the seams. You're a young Roman, maybe a shopkeeper's apprentice, living in a city that's still a republic, not yet an empire. Rome's expanding, its armies conquering, but at home, things feel unsteady. The air's thick with the scent of baking bread and spilled wine, and the streets buzz with gossip. You've heard whispers about secret rites happening under cover of night, wild parties dedicated to Bacchus, the god of wine and ecstasy. They're called the Bacchanalia, and they're not the tame festivals, you know. These are something else, frenzied, forbidden, and, to some, terrifying. You're curious, but wary. Rome doesn't take kindly to secrets. The Bacchanalia started small, or so the story goes. You picture a grove outside the city, where women gather to honor Bacchus with dances and wine. It's a Greek import brought by traders and priests, and at first, it's just another cult in a city full of gods. But things escalate. Men join in, then slaves, then nobles. The rites move underground, held in cellars or secluded villas. You overhear a customer at your master's shop, his voice low, describing nights of music, torchlight, and rituals that blur into chaos. There's talk of ecstasy, but also darker things, orgies, sacrifices, even crimes. You're not sure what's true, but the rumors spread like wildfire. Let's set the scene. You're walking home at dusk, the sky bruised purple over the 7 hills. You pass a tavern where men argue loudly, their faces flushed with wine. One mentions the Bacchanalia, and the room quiets. Someone mutters about unnatural acts and treason. You keep moving, but the word sticks, treason. Rome's paranoid about threats, especially after recent wars with Carthage. Anything foreign, anything secretive, feels like a dagger aimed at the Republic. You've seen priests flogged for lesser offenses. If the Bacchanalia's as wild as they say, it's trouble waiting to happen. The scandal breaks when a woman named Hispala Ficenia spills the beans. You imagine her, a former slave turned courtesan, trembling as she speaks to a consul. She's got a lover, a young man caught up in the rites, and she's terrified for him. She describes the Bacchanalia as a web of debauchery, luring innocents into crime and rebellion. Her story's dramatic, maybe too dramatic, but it's what Rome wants to hear. The Senate, led by stern old men in togas, seizes the chance to crack down. You're at the forum when the news hits, the crowd buzzing like angry bees. The consul, Postumius, declares the Bacchanalia a threat to Rome's moral fiber. You're not sure if it's really that bad, but the fear's contagious. The Senate's response is brutal. You watch as soldiers raid homes, dragging out men and women in chains. The charges are vague: corruption, conspiracy, immorality, but the punishment's real. Thousands are arrested, from slaves to senators' wives. You pass a public square where a man's being whipped, his cries echoing off the temples. Others are executed, their bodies dumped in the Tiber. The Senate bans the Bacchanalia outright, restricting worship of Bacchus to tightly controlled rituals. You're stunned by the scale of it. 7,000 people rounded up, some say, in a city of a few 100,000. Rome's sending a message. No one defies its order. Let's pause to imagine you're caught in the frenzy. A friend, maybe someone you drank with at the tavern, begs you to join a Bacchanalian rite. You're tempted. The promise of wine, music, and escape from your dreary life is strong. You sneak to a villa at midnight, your heart pounding. Inside, the air's thick with incense and sweat. Figures move in the torchlight, their faces masked, their voices rising in eerie chants. You drink and the world spins. For a moment, you're free, lost in the gods' embrace. But then you hear shouts, soldiers at the door. You scramble out a window, scraping your knees, and run into the night. You're lucky. Others aren't. What was the Bacchanalia really? Historians, like Livy, paint it as a cesspool of vice, but you're skeptical. Livy's writing decades later, and he loves a good moral tale. You wonder if it was just a party that got out of hand, exaggerated by a Senate eager to flex its power. Bacchus's worship was old, tied to fertility and release, and Rome was no stranger to excess. Senators threw lavish feasts, after all. Maybe the real crime was the mixing of classes and genders, free and slave, in a way that threatened Rome's rigid hierarchy. Or maybe it was a convenient scapegoat, a way to distract from economic woes or political rivalries. You'll never know, but the crackdown changed Rome, tightening its grip on religion and freedom. Let's explore the aftermath. You're back in your shop, sweeping the floor, but the city feels different. People whisper less, wary of spies. Temples to Bacchus are shuttered or repurposed. You notice fewer late-night gatherings, fewer strangers slipping into alleys. The Senate's won, but at a cost. Rome's a little grayer, its spirit a little heavier. You miss the old buzz, even if you never joined the rites. The Bacchanalia's gone, but its shadow lingers, a warning of what happens when Rome feels threatened. This scandal shows you Rome's underbelly, not just its filth or poverty, but its fear of losing control. The Republic was a machine of order, built on discipline and tradition, and anything that challenged that was crushed. You're starting to see why living here meant walking a tightrope, whether you were a nobody or a noble. The Bacchanalia wasn't just a party. It was a mirror, reflecting Rome's desires and dread. If you're still awake, we've got more to uncover. Another slice of Rome's world, perhaps a forgotten corner of the city or a tale of its strangest customs. For now, take a deep breath, let the echoes of the Bacchanalia fade, and keep drifting through the past. If you're enjoying this, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. Would you have joined the Bacchanalia? Let's see what's next. You're still wandering through ancient Rome, where the city's heartbeat echoes in the clatter of hooves and the chatter of crowds. We've lived as a commoner, followed a freedman's hustle, traced Agrippina's deadly ambition, puzzled over the Ninth Legion's fate, and uncovered the Bacchanalia's scandal. Now, let's slip into one of Rome's most notorious corners, the Subura, a gritty, vibrant slum that was the city's underbelly. This is where the real Rome pulsed, far from the marble temples and senators' villas. If you're still drifting with us, pull your blanket closer, hit that like button, and drop a comment about what you do in the Subura's chaos. Let's dive into this forgotten world. You wake in the Subura, crammed into a sagging tenement that leans over a narrow street. The air is heavy with the stench of sweat, cooking oil, and something rotting in an alley. Your room, barely bigger than a closet, hums with the snores of your neighbors through paper-thin walls. Outside, the Subura never sleeps. You hear a woman haggling over onions, a dog barking, and the creak of a cart stuck in the mud. This is Rome's densest district, a maze of alleys where the poor, the ambitious, and the desperate collide. You're one of them, and survival here means keeping your wits sharp. Step outside, and the Subura hits you like a wave. The street's a river of people. Laborers hauling sacks, prostitutes calling from doorways, kids darting underfoot. You dodge a splash of slop tossed from a window, a Subura morning ritual. The buildings tower 5 or 6 stories, their plaster cracked, their wooden beams groaning. Fires are a constant threat, and you've seen whole blocks burn, leaving families homeless. You glance up, checking for loose tiles. Falling debris is a Subura hazard, and no one's fixing the roofs. The air's thick with dust and the tang of cheap wine, and you're already sweating through your patched tunic. Let's talk about getting by. You're a tanner's apprentice, working in a shop that reeks of urine and animal hides. The Subura's full of trades like this. Butchers, bakers, cobblers, all packed into tiny storefronts. Your hands are raw from soaking leather in vats, and the smell clings to you like a curse. Your master's a gruff man who pays you in bread and curses, but it's better than begging. You work from dawn to dusk, your back aching, your fingers stained. Lunch is a hunk of bread and a sip of sour wine, eaten in the shop's doorway while you watch the Subura's parade of life. The Subura's not just a slum. It's a marketplace of dreams and schemes. You pass a fortune teller, her table cluttered with bones and charms, promising love or luck for a coin. Next door, a barber shaves a customer with a blade that's seen better days, doubling as a dentist if you're desperate. You wince, remembering the time he yanked a tooth with no anesthetic. Street vendors hawk everything from figs to stolen jewelry, their shouts blending into a chaotic symphony. You're tempted by a skewer of grilled meat, but the vendor's cagey about what animal it is. You stick to bread, safer that way. Crime's woven into the Subura's fabric. You keep a hand on your coin pouch, knowing pickpockets work the crowds. At night, gangs rule the alleys, their knives glinting in the torchlight. You've heard of men knifed over a bad debt or a wrong look. The Subura's got no police, just a night watch more focused on fires than fights. You've learned to avoid certain streets, where shadows move too quietly. Your neighbor, a baker, keeps a club under his counter, and you're thinking of getting one too. Safety's a luxury you can't afford. Let's imagine a moment of connection. You're at a pop-ina, a dingy tavern where the Subura's pulse is strongest. The air's thick with smoke and laughter, and you're nursing a cup of watered wine. A woman at your table, a weaver with calloused hands, tells a story about her village, her voice soft but fierce. A sailor chimes in, spinning a tale of a storm that nearly sank his ship. You laugh, forgetting the day's grind. These moments, fleeting, human, are what keep the Subura alive. You're not rich, not powerful, but here you're part of something raw and real. The Subura's also a place of faith. You pass a shrine to Fortuna, its stone worn smooth by desperate hands. Offerings, coins, bread, even a child's toy pile at its base. You toss in a copper, whispering for luck. Temples to Jupiter or Venus are for the elite. Here, you worship smaller gods, ones who might actually listen. You've seen rituals in backrooms, 2 foreign cults from Egypt or Persia, promising salvation. They're risky after the Bacchanalia crackdown, but the Subura doesn't bow to Senate decrees. Faith, like everything here, is stubborn. What about the Subura's highs? Festivals turn the district into a riot of color. During Lupercalia, you watch young men run naked through the streets, whipping crowds with leather straps for fertility. You laugh, dodging a lash, and join the cheering. The Subura throws the best parties. Makeshift feasts where neighbors share what little they have. You've eaten dormouse roasted with honey, a delicacy you'd never afford otherwise. These moments are rare, but they're the Subura's heart, proof that joy can bloom in the grime. The Subura's not all hardship. It's where Julius Caesar grew up, his family's home tucked among the tenements. You've heard stories of him as a kid, dodging gangs and charming vendors. It's a reminder that the Subura breeds survivors, people who climb, fight, or endure. You're one of them, carving out a life in a place that doesn't forgive mistakes. But you're tired, too. The noise, the danger, the endless hustle. It grinds you down. You dream of a farm far from the city, but you know the Subura's grip is tight. This district shows you Rome's truth. For every Colosseum, there's a Subura, where life's messy, vibrant, and unforgiving. You're seeing why Rome wasn't just a city. It was a crucible shaping everyone who passed through. If you're still awake, we've got more to explore. Maybe a strange Roman custom or a final twist in the city's tale. For now, breathe deep. Let the Subura's clamor fade, and keep drifting. If you're enjoying this, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. Could you survive the Subura? Let's see what's next. You're still immersed in the restless sprawl of ancient Rome, where the city's rhythm pulses through smoky alleys and grand forums. We've survived a day as a commoner, trailed a freedman's struggle, followed Agrippina's deadly schemes, unraveled the Ninth Legion's mystery, navigated the Bacchanalia scandal, and wandered the gritty Subura. Now, let's step into a peculiar corner of Roman life, the bizarre and lavish world of their dining customs. From dormice to flamingo tongues, Roman meals were a spectacle that would shock your modern palate. If you're still drifting with us, snuggle deeper, hit that like button, and drop a comment about the weirdest food you've ever tried. Let's feast with the Romans. You're invited to a cena, a Roman dinner party, in a wealthy merchant's home. It's evening, and you're reclining on a cushioned couch in a triclinium, the dining room, surrounded by flickering oil lamps. The air is heavy with the scent of roasted meat, spiced wine, and a whiff of garum, that fishy sauce Romans can't get enough of. You're dressed in a clean tunic, a rare luxury, but you feel out of place among the silk-draped guests. The host, a plump man with a gold ring, claps for the meal to begin. You're excited until you see what's on the menu. The first course, the gustaccio, arrives on silver trays. There's a bowl of olives, some pickled vegetables, and wait, is that a plate of dormice? You stare at the tiny, glazed creatures, fattened in clay jars and roasted with honey and poppy seeds. The guest next to you pops one in his mouth, crunching happily, and offers you one. You hesitate, your stomach twisting, but you take a bite. It's sweet, fatty, and oddly chewy, like a gamey chicken nugget. You smile weakly, reaching for wine to wash it down. The wine's warm, spiced with herbs, and tastes faintly of lead from the pipes. You're already missing your iced soda. Let's talk about reclining, because sitting upright isn't the Roman way. You're propped on your left elbow, your body stretched across the couch, which is less comfortable than it sounds. Your arms going numb, and crumbs keep falling on your tunic. The room's arranged with 3 couches in a U-shape, each holding 3 guests. 9 total, the ideal number for a cena. Slaves hover, refilling cups and clearing plates, their eyes downcast. You notice one, a boy no older than 12, sweating as he balances a tray. You want to thank him, but speaking to slaves mid-meal is a faux pas. You stay quiet, feeling the weight of Rome's hierarchy. The main course, the prima mensa, is a parade of excess. There's roasted boar stuffed with figs, a whole peacock with its feathers reattached for show, and a dish of sow's udders, boiled and slathered in garum. You're handed a slice of something pink and gelatinous. Flamingo tongue, a delicacy. You try it, and it's slimy, salty, and tastes like regret. The host boasts about the cost, saying he imported the birds from Africa. You nod, pretending to be impressed, but you're eyeing a basket of bread, hoping for something normal. The bread's coarse, studded with bits of grit that crunch alarmingly. You chew carefully, praying for your teeth. Conversation flows, but it's a performance. Guests trade witty barbs, quoting poets or mocking absent rivals. You try to keep up, tossing in a line about Virgil, but your accent betrays your lower status. A woman in a pearl necklace laughs, not unkindly, and changes the subject to chariot races. You're relieved. Talking politics is risky, especially with rumors of a senator's treason floating around. The host, eager to impress, calls for entertainment. A flute player starts, her notes shrill, and a dancer twirls, her veils brushing your face. You're distracted, though, by a guest vomiting into a bowl brought by a slave. It's deliberate. Romans make room for more food this way. You gag, looking away. Let's pause to imagine the kitchen behind this feast. You're not there, but you picture it. A cramped, smoky room where slaves toil over open fires. They're chopping, roasting, and stirring vats of sauce, their faces slick with sweat. The head cook, a freedman with a sharp tongue, barks orders. Ingredients are exotic: ostriches, sea urchins, even giraffe meat if the host's feeling extravagant. Most come from the empire's far reaches, a flex of Rome's power. You're glad you're not eating the jellyfish salad, which smells like a low tide. The slaves won't taste this food. They'll get barley gruel later, if they're lucky. The dessert course, the secunda mensa, brings relief. There's fresh fruit, grapes, pomegranates, and figs that burst with sweetness. You savor them, cleansing the taste of flamingo from your mouth. Honeyed cakes follow, sticky and spiced with cinnamon. You're stuffed, but the host urges you to eat more, his pride hinging on excess. You notice the room's getting rowdy, wine's flowing, and a guest is reciting poetry, slurring his words. Another's flirting with a slave, who looks uncomfortable but can't protest. You're uneasy, sensing the night could turn messy. Roman dining wasn't just about food, it was a stage for status. If you're poor, your cena is a bowl of lentils in a Subura tenement. Not this. Even here, hierarchy rules. The best dishes go to the host's favorites. Ascending couch gets the worst scraps. You're starting to see why these feasts were a gamble. Overindulgence could ruin you, but a good cena could boost your reputation. You're learning fast. In Rome, every meal is a power play. Let's talk hygiene because it's grim. No forks or napkins. You eat with your hands, grease coating your fingers. You wipe them on a cloth or, worse, your hair. The host's wine cups are silver, but the slaves don't wash them well, and you're pretty sure you're sharing germs with the last guest. Toothbrushes are a fantasy. You'd chew a twig if you were lucky. Your breath's a mix of garum and wine, and nobody's offering mints. You're dreaming of your toothbrush back home. The night drags on and you're exhausted. The host's drunk, singing off-key, and you're dodging his sloppy handshake. You slip out, the cool night air a relief after the stuffy triclinium. You stumble home, your stomach churning, vowing never to eat dormice again. This is Roman dining, glamorous, grotesque, and unforgettable. You're seeing why their feasts were legendary, but you'd kill for a burger and a quiet night in. If you're still awake, we've got one last journey. Maybe a final reflection on Rome's contradictions or a peek at its darkest corners. For now, breathe deep, let the feast's chaos fade, and keep drifting. If you're enjoying this, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. What's the strangest Roman dish you'd try? Let's see what's next. You're still weaving through the restless tapestry of ancient Rome, where the city's clamor of carts and crowds lingers in your ears. We've survived a day as a plebeian, trailed a freedman's toil, followed Agrippina's deadly schemes, puzzled over the Ninth Legion's fate, uncovered the Bacchanalia scandal, roamed the gritty Subura, and feasted on Rome's bizarre delicacies. Now, let's descend into one of Rome's darkest and most mysterious realms, the catacombs, the underground tombs that sprawled beneath the city. These weren't just graves. They were a hidden world of faith, fear, and secrets. If you're still drifting with us, wrap yourself tighter in your blanket, hit that like button, and drop a comment about what you'd feel wandering these tunnels. Let's explore Rome's shadows. You're standing at the edge of the city, where the Appian Way stretches into the dusk. The air is cooler here, tinged with the scent of damp earth and wild herbs. Before you is a low entrance carved into a hillside, barely noticeable among the weeds. This is one of Rome's catacombs, a labyrinth of tunnels where the dead rest and the living rarely venture. You're not a Christian or Jew, groups who later made these spaces sacred, but a curious Roman in the 2nd century CE, drawn by rumors of strange rituals. You light a clay lamp, its flame flickering, and step into the dark. The world above fades, replaced by the chill of stone and the weight of silence. The tunnel is narrow, its walls rough-hewn, barely wide enough for you to walk upright. Your lamp casts jittery shadows, revealing niches carved into the rock. Loculi, where bodies are laid, wrapped in linen. The air is musty, thick with the faint, unsettling smell of decay. You brush against the wall, and dust clings to your fingers, gritty and cold. The catacombs aren't grand like the mausoleums of Rome's elite. They're practical, built for the poor, slaves, and foreigners who couldn't afford marble tombs. Yet there's a strange intimacy here, a sense that each niche holds a story, forgotten by the city above. You move deeper, your footsteps echoing softly. The tunnel branches, twisting into a maze that could swallow you whole. You've heard tales of people lost in catacombs, their lamps burning out, their cries unheard. Your heart quickens, but you press on, driven by curiosity. The walls are etched with crude symbols. Fish, doves, anchors, early signs of faiths Rome barely tolerates. You're a pagan, used to Jupiter's temples. But these marks feel different, quiet but defiant. You wonder who carved them, and why they chose this underworld to hide their beliefs. Let's pause to imagine who's buried here. You're not alone in the catacombs, not really. In a nearby niche lies a baker from the Subura, his hands once dusted with flour, now still forever. Another holds a slave girl, her life spent scrubbing villa floors, her name lost to time. There's a child, too, wrapped tightly, a clay toy tucked beside them. The catacombs are a leveling ground. Rich or poor, free or chained, all end up here, their bones mingling in the dark. You feel a shiver, not just from the cold. Death is Rome's constant shadow, and down here, it's impossible to ignore. The catacombs aren't just for the dead. You've heard whispers of secret gatherings, cults meeting in the deepest tunnels, their voices hushed to avoid patrols. Early Christians, still a small sect, are said to pray here, breaking bread in defiance of Rome's laws. You imagine them, their faces lit by trembling flames, speaking of a God who promises salvation. It's risky. Emperors like Nero blame these groups for fires or unrest, and persecution's common. You're not one of them, but you feel a flicker of respect. It takes guts to worship in a tomb. Let's explore the work behind these tunnels. You picture the fossors, the diggers who carved this underworld. They're slaves or freedmen, their lives spent hacking at rock with picks, their lungs choked with dust. They work by lamplight, hauling earth in baskets, their bodies bent from years of labor. A single tunnel could take months, and mistakes, like hitting a spring or weak rock, could bury them alive. You've seen their kind in the city, gaunt men with hollow eyes, and now you understand their exhaustion. The catacombs are a marvel, but they're built on suffering, like so much of Rome. What's it like to visit as a Roman? You're here to honor a friend, maybe a fellow worker who died of fever. You bring a small offering, a coin, a vial of wine, placing it in their niche. You speak their name softly, hoping their shade finds peace. Romans believe the dead linger, sometimes vengeful, and you're careful not to offend. The catacombs are eerie, but they're also sacred, a place where the living and dead brush close. You linger, your lamp burning low, then turn back, the weight of the underworld pressing on you. The catacombs reveal Rome's contradictions. Above, the city dazzles with colosseums and triumphs. Below, it's raw, mortal, a reminder that even empires crumble. You're starting to see why living in Rome was a dance with death, whether from disease, fire, or the slow grind of poverty. The catacombs held space for those the city forgot, their stories etched in stone, waiting for someone to listen. If you're still awake, we've got one final chapter, a reflection on Rome's legacy or a last glimpse at its strangest corners. For now, take a deep breath, let the catacombs chill fade, and keep drifting through the past. If you're enjoying this, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. Would you dare explore Rome's catacombs? Let's see what's next. You're still lingering in the vibrant, chaotic world of ancient Rome, where the echoes of bustling markets and clashing swords have carried you through time. We've endured a day as a commoner, followed a freedman's relentless grind, traced Agrippina's treacherous ambition, puzzled over the Ninth Legion's mysterious fate, uncovered the Bacchanalia scandal, wandered the gritty Subura, savored the bizarre spectacle of Roman dining, and ventured into the shadowy catacombs. Now, as our journey nears its end, let's step back and reflect on what Rome's world means. Why this city, with all its glory and grime, still grips our imagination. If you're still drifting with us, settle in one last time, hit that like button, and drop a comment about what part of Rome's story hit you hardest. Let's wrap up this tale. You're standing on the Palatine Hill, overlooking Rome at dusk. The city sprawls before you, a patchwork of marble temples, rickety tenements, and the golden glint of the Tiber. The air carries the scent of smoke, roasted chestnuts, and the faint tang of the sewers. Below, the forum hums with life. Merchants packing up, priests chanting, lovers stealing a moment by a fountain. You're not a senator or a slave, not a hero or a villain, just a witness to a city that shaped the world. Rome's legacy is a paradox, a place of staggering achievement and staggering cruelty, and you've seen both sides. Let's start with what Rome gave us. You think of the roads, stretching thousands of miles, their stones still trodden today. You've walked them, your sandals worn thin, marveling at their precision. They carried armies, traders, and ideas, binding an empire from Britain to Egypt. You picture the aqueducts, their arches soaring, bringing water to 1,000,000 thirsty souls. You've drunk from their fountains, cool and clear, a miracle of engineering. Rome's laws, too, echo in your mind, codes that shaped justice, property, and citizenship, their influence lingering in modern courts. You're struck by the audacity of it all, a city that dared to tame a continent. But Rome's gifts came at a cost. You remember the Subura's filth, where families choked on smoke and fear. You see the slaves in the catacombs, their lives spent in darkness, their names erased. You recall Agrippina's poisoned mushrooms, a reminder that power in Rome was a knife's edge. The empire's wealth was built on conquest. Villages burned, peoples chained, their cultures swallowed. You've heard the cheers in the Colosseum, where blood was sport, and you've winced at the crunch of dormice on a rich man's plate. Rome's grandeur was dazzling, but it rested on suffering, a truth you can't unsee. Let's imagine you're a Roman, any Roman, looking at your city. If you're a laborer, Rome's a treadmill, endless work, endless worry with little reward. If you're a noble, it's a chessboard, every move a gamble for status or survival. If you're a soldier, like those lost with the Ninth, it's a duty that might bury you in a foreign swamp. Yet you're proud. Rome's yours, its triumphs and flaws woven into your bones. You cheer for chariot races, pray to Jupiter, and dream of a better life, even if it's just a quieter corner of the Subura. You're part of something vast, and that keeps you going. Rome's contradictions are what make it human. You think of the Bacchanalia, a cry for freedom crushed by fear. You see the catacombs, where the forgotten found faith in the dark. You laugh, remembering the absurdity of flamingo tongues, a symbol of a city that loved excess but couldn't escape death. Rome was a mirror, reflecting ambition, resilience, and fragility. You're starting to understand why living here was both exhilarating and exhausting. A life where every day tested your strength, your cunning, your hope. Let's reflect on why Rome matters now. You're back in your modern world, maybe curled up with a phone, far from garum and gladiators. But Rome's in your language. Words like Senate, Republic, citizen trace back to Latin. It's in your cities, with their grids and arches inspired by Roman plans. It's in your laws, your roads, even your love of spectacle. Think sports arenas or blockbuster films. Rome's story warns you, too. Empires rise, but they fall, undone by greed, division, or neglect. You wonder what your world will leave behind, and if it'll be as enduring or as flawed. You're struck by Rome's people, the ones we've met. Lucius, the freedman, hustling in the market, his dreams small but stubborn. Agrippina, weaving her web of power, only to be betrayed by her son. The soldiers of the Ninth, lost to history, their courage unrecorded. The revelers of the Bacchanalia, chasing joy in a city that feared it. The Subura's tanners and bakers, whose sweat built the empire's bones. The catacombs' silent dead, whispering of faith and loss. They're not so different from you. Striving, failing, hoping, all under the same stars. Let's end with a quiet moment. You're alone in Rome at midnight, the city finally still. You sit by the Tiber, its waters black and gleaming. The air's cool, carrying the faint scent of jasmine from a nearby garden. You hear a distant owl, a soft splash, the creak of a docked boat. The Colosseum looms in the distance, a shadow against the moon. You think of all you've seen, the filth, the feasts, the fire of ambition, the chill of tombs. Rome's not a fairy tale. It's a story of people, flawed and fierce, building something eternal, even if they didn't know it. You close your eyes, letting the city's weight slip away, carrying its lessons into your dreams. This is where we leave Rome, but its story never really ends. If you've stayed with us, thank you for wandering these ancient streets. If you're still awake, or just waking up, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. What's one thing about Rome you'll never forget? Maybe it's the Subura's chaos, Agrippina's nerve, or the catacombs' silence. Let us know where you're watching from, and if you want more sleepy history, we'll be back with another tale. For now, take a deep breath, let Rome fade, and drift into the night. Sleep well, history wanderers.